It begins with a simple click. One moment, you're browsing your favorite website, checking emails, or downloading a file you believe to be harmless. But the second, that tiny, almost imperceptible action happens. Something changes. Your screen flickers. Files disappear. Messages pop up demanding money. It's too late. You've been infected. What if I told you that in the history of computing, this simple click, an innocuous action we all take daily, has been the start of some of the most catastrophic digital attacks in history? What if I told you that behind these attacks, lurking in the shadows, are not just faceless hackers, but a bizarre, almost insidious world of computer viruses that have evolved and spread in ways you might not even imagine? The story of computer viruses is not just a tale of technology gone wrong. It's a gripping narrative of espionage, cyber warfare, greed, and sometimes even curiosity. It's a story of how something as small as a line of code can cripple companies, ruin lives, and change the course of history. The first ever computer virus, known as the Creeper, appeared in 1971. It wasn't malicious, at least not in the way we understand today. The Creeper simply displayed a message. "I'm the Creeper! Catch me if you can!" It wasn't designed to destroy anything, but it set the stage for something far more dangerous. After all, once the door to infection was opened, it wouldn't take long for the cyber predators to follow, and follow they did. By the mid-1980s, the world saw its first true killer virus, Brain. Unlike Creeper, which was harmless, Brain was a sinister piece of code created by two Pakistani brothers, Amjad and Basit Farooq Alvi. They designed it to target piracy, specifically illegal copies of their software, but this virus spread far beyond their intentions. It infected floppy disks, which were the primary means of data transfer at the time, and it wreaked havoc on thousands of machines across the globe. Brain didn't just crash systems, it marked the beginning of a new era of malicious digital warfare. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We must understand that computer viruses didn't just appear overnight. They evolved. As technology advanced, so did the threats. The 1990s ushered in a new breed of virus, one with a much darker purpose: the worm. A worm was different. It could replicate itself without needing to attach to a file. It slithered through networks like a digital parasite, devouring everything in its path. One of the most notorious worms of this era was the ILOVEYOU virus, which arrived in May 2000. It was simple: an email with the subject line, "I love you," and an attachment titled, "Love Letter for You, TXT VBS." When unsuspecting users opened the attachment, the worm spread like wildfire. It crashed entire email systems and caused billions of dollars in damage. The worst part? It was so effective because it leveraged something we all crave: emotional connection. Who wouldn't open an email that says, "I love you"? By now, you might be wondering, why do people create these malicious programs in the first place? The reasons are as varied as the viruses themselves. Some viruses are crafted for monetary gain. Ransomware, for example, encrypts your files and demands a ransom payment, often in cryptocurrency, for the decryption key. The infamous WannaCry ransomware attack of 2017 was one such incident. It spread quickly across the globe, affecting thousands of organizations, including the UK's National Health Service. Hospitals were forced to cancel surgeries and turn away patients as their systems were paralyzed. WannaCry was based on an exploit that had been leaked from the NSA, making it all the more dangerous. It was a clear reminder that the weaponization of cyber tools could have catastrophic consequences. But then, there's the digital espionage aspect of viruses. Governments and large organizations aren't immune to the wrath of these malicious entities. The 2010 Stuxnet worm, for example, was a digital weapon, a cyber attack so sophisticated that it took years to understand. Stuxnet was designed to infiltrate and sabotage Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities, damaging centrifuges and delaying the country's nuclear program. What made Stuxnet so remarkable was not just its precision. It was the fact that it was a state-sponsored virus, a weapon of cyber warfare. This wasn't just a hacker causing havoc for fun or profit. This was geopolitical maneuvering on the digital battlefield. But the reality is, not all viruses are so grandiose or catastrophic. In fact, some of the most destructive viruses throughout history have been less about espionage or warfare and more about chaos, pride, or just proving a point. Take the malicious virus, for example, which emerged in 1999. It was created by a Florida man named David L. Smith, who had no grand political agenda, just a desire to mess with people. Malicious spread through email, infecting Microsoft Word documents and sending itself to the first 50 people in the victim OS address book. It wasn't life-threatening, but it paralyzed email systems, causing a massive disruption worldwide. And then there's the Conficker virus. This virus, first discovered in 2008, was one of the most difficult to combat. It infected millions of machines worldwide, creating a massive botnet, a network of hijacked computers that could be remotely controlled by cybercriminals. What set Conficker apart was its ability to adapt and change. Each time a security patch was released, Conficker mutated to avoid detection. For a while, it was the digital equivalent of a ghost, slipping through the cracks of even the most advanced defenses. Now here's where things get truly bizarre. Some viruses are designed not to harm or steal, but simply to annoy. One of the strangest viruses in this category is the Sasser virus, created in 2004 by a German teenager named Sven Jaschan. Sasser didn't infect your files or steal data. Instead, it caused computers to randomly shut down, creating chaos at the most inconvenient times. A little like a digital prank, but with a global reach. The unpredictability and randomness of Sasser made it a perfect example of how far people would go for a sense of control, no matter how little sense it made. So how do we fight these invisible enemies? The answer is as complicated as the viruses themselves. Over time, antivirus software has evolved to become more sophisticated, using everything from heuristic analysis to machine learning to detect and neutralize threats. But just as we develop defenses, cybercriminals adapt, creating new strains of viruses that can slip through the cracks. It's a digital arms race, one that has no clear end in sight. And yet, as frightening as these viruses are, they've also taught us something fundamental: the need for vigilance, the importance of cybersecurity, and how deeply interconnected we all are in this digital age. Each virus, whether born out of curiosity, greed, or warfare, leaves behind a trail of lessons, reminders of how fragile our digital lives truly are. Because in the world of computer viruses, there is always one thing that remains certain: the next click is never guaranteed to be safe.